Hello, and welcome to the GRACED podcast, where we infuse everyday magic into your everyday life. Today's episode, we'll be diving deep into the themes of the Magician card, which represents inventiveness, manifestation, and activating your pure potential. The Magician happens to be one of my tarot birth cards, and so it goes without saying, the Magician is one of my personal favorite cards. Our guest today is Pamela Chen, who is the author of several tarot decks, including the Tarot of the Owls and Witchling Academy Tarot, which, if you check out my YouTube channel, you can watch the unboxing videos. Links in the show notes. Also, we are doing a giveaway of 3 Tarot of the Owls decks. All you have to do is submit a podcast review to enter. Full details on how to enter will be at the end of this episode. Pamela is also a business mentor and money manifesting coach, helping high achieving creatives manifest their fullest potential. There are some truly amazing gems and nuggets of wisdom shared throughout this episode. We talk about manifestation, of course, but we also dive even deeper by also talking about the realms of manifestation, tangible manifestation techniques you can use in your everyday life, how to surrender and detach from the outcome, as well as Pamela's approach to creating her own tarot and oracle decks. Before we get started, I did want to let you know about my upcoming masterclass that I'm hosting on May 15th on how to create and market your own deck. After creating 4 decks of my own, both self-published and working with traditional publishers, I can walk you through the ins and outs of making a deck that I wish someone had told me when I was first starting out. No matter where you are in the process, if you just have an idea, you've just started making your deck, or you already have a deck, this masterclass will still have very valuable information that you can take away on your journey as a deck creator. To RSVP for your ticket, go to createyourdeck.club. Can't wait to see you there. Now let's get into this episode. Hello, Pamela. So excited to have you on the podcast today.
Hi, Grace. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got some of your decks with me today.
Yay.
The Tarot of the Owls and the Witchling Academy Tarot, which they're both so gorgeous. And I can tell a lot of thought went into your decks. And so I was just wondering, where do you get your inspiration from when you're creating these decks?
So it's really funny because I think I was following you in the beginning at the first time when I created my first self-published deck, which was Crystal Unicorn Tarot. And that was through this soul remembrance thing I was doing. And it just took me to like this crystal unicorn forest. The Witchling Academy Tarot, I wanted to do some kind of, first it turned out to be a wizarding deck. My artist couldn't draw males, so it turned into Witchling deck. And she actually was 19 at the time. And so we kind of leveled up together. And that was my first submission to Llewellyn. That was my first published deck. And it was a labor of love. There was a lot of work learning how to write the guidebook. The creation part was very easy for me. It changed a lot, that one, because I had to change a lot of components to fit the artist. Tarot of the Owls, I was actually working on another deck. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, there's no Owls decks out there. And I downloaded everything, wrote out 78 art descriptions and the whole proposal in 3 days. And so that one just took off. So the Owls was very, very easy.
That's so awesome because I feel like the creation process is very much fluid in terms of whatever the subject matter is. So it's interesting that it seems like you have this like almost like Hogwarts theme with the Witchling Academy Tarot. And that does seem a little bit more involved, thinking about like the different, what do you call it? Like the different classes
Yes.
of the suits and whatnot. And then with Tarot of the Owls, I mean, it's very clear that the owls are the subject matter here. And they're so cute, by the way, like the way they're illustrated. You mentioned soul remembrance in creating your first self-published tarot deck, and I was just
Mhm.
wondering what the difference was between that process and working with a publisher.
I actually really enjoyed the self publishing because I'm also an entrepreneur. So creating a deck is like creating a business. And so I already had, the business skills and abilities to kickstart my deck for the launch. I did try create a couple decks before that were really not real decks. And then all of a sudden I'm like, unicorns. This is 2018, I believe. So unicorns wasn't mainstream yet, but I always had a really strong connection to them. And I'm like, I need a unicorn deck. And so it was my best friend's best friend that drew it. She's actually like a clothing designer. And I asked her, can you just do Rider Waite Smith, but unicorn? And that was really easy. All we have to do is like pick the colors and what the unicorns look like and lock it down. And she just kind of did the rest.
That's amazing. So let's dive into the themes of the magician. And I'd love to hear about what your relationship is with this card and how do you relate to the magician?
Yeah, if you notice, the witchling and the owl, they're both the magician card on the cover. So, and I mean, I didn't pick it because Llewellyn gets last choice, but they're both the magician. I think I just have really powerful manifestation energy. I like to teach it. I like to do it. I like to manifest, do some kind of manifestation practice every day. And I think that's what the magician brings, that it's not the tools, it's not what you are doing, it's not the method that manifests for you, but you are the manifestation. And your practice and your tools just helps you realize that into reality.
I love that. I love that because I feel like sometimes people might not feel like they're very powerful,
Yeah.
but in essence, you are constantly manifesting your reality, whether it's quote unquote good thought or a bad thought. So, how do you handle manifestation and what are some of the manifestation techniques that you incorporate into your own life?
So I believe in the four realms of manifestation, which is something I discovered and I teach in my program. So the first realm that really creates awareness is the realm of the mind. So the mental realm. So whatever we think of creates. So it starts with the mind. Like you said, the good thoughts, the bad thoughts. And what really runs our lives is our subconscious mind of the programs that's in there that we might not know it's there. So when we do these practices, whether my favorite is wealth scripting, so it's actually, let me show, I don't have it with me, but I write like 2-3 pages of what has already happened in my life. So I write it as if it has already happened and I feel really into it. And so this tricks my brain into thinking that it has already happened. If you imagine it, your brain can't tell the difference between your memory or something that has happened. So if you're thinking, wow, yes, I see all of my decks and all of my books and Barnes and Nobles. And if you keep thinking it, your brain's going to be like, well, that's the reality. Let me go out and find opportunities that gets me there. So the mental realm is very powerful, and we know that a lot of people teach that. The second realm is the energetic realm, also the magic realm, the energy. So your mind, everything that you think creates energy. So we are energy. This computer, your phone is energy. So everything is connected. Everything is energy. So we can connect to what we desire through this energy. So if you're thinking higher vibrational energetic thoughts, which is the good thoughts because they vibrate literally like a radio frequency at a higher frequency, right? Low vibe doesn't mean that you're not good. Lower frequency just means that whatever you're thinking of or you're feeling is lower in moving frequency. If you desire success and all of the things, they actually move faster. And that's why people tell you to be high vibe all the time. So it's not good or bad. So our thoughts turns into energy, and then it becomes the feelings, the emotional realm. So the third realm is the emotional realm, where you have to really feel what you are thinking and what this energy is, because your heart is actually the magnetism. So if you can think it and the energy gets sent out there, and I really work with the quantum field, which is like the field of possibilities, anything can happen. Anything that you desire is already there. And so when you feel it, that's the magnetism that draws it in. So you think it and your energy gets sent out, and then you feel. So it's usually feeling really expansive, really grounded, really happy, blissful, whatever it is, right? Gratitude is a really good one. It'll draw that in. It'll draw that in. So if you put it together, it's very powerful. The fourth realm, I really didn't learn until a couple years ago. So since I was little, I've always been going out of my body if I didn't like my physical circumstances. If something happens to me, I would literally leave my body. And so like go play with the fairies, the unicorns, and going into other realms. And so what I've noticed was when I was with one of my vocal magic coach, she said that you need to come back to the body and embody your magic so that you can have more powerful manifestations, because we live in our body. We're having a human experience. So all the magic we do, all of the mindset work, all of the energy work we do, if we don't bring it back in, if we don't bring it back into the physical, then you can still manifest, but it might just take a while longer. So when I was able to be and live who I was imagining and sending out, then having the stuff like rapidly came to me, if that makes sense. And life just got a lot easier.
That's a really awesome way of describing the manifestation levels in terms of steps, almost, where people can apply it in their lives. So thank you for explaining that for us. How do you deal with the frustration of not having the manifestation yet? Because some people might will it to happen, but it's not happening. And so there might be this frustration that's occurring that might even be blocking someone from manifesting something. So how would you deal with that?
Yeah, you're definitely right, Grace. It is a block. So when you're coming from, I need it, I do say I want because I'm very detached from it. But if you're in the I need it, I want it, I desperately want, I'm focusing on it every single day. When we come from that energy, then it actually blocks us. So instead, we have to come from a very detached place. Like, instead of, oh my gosh, I need to join this program. This coach is going to make me money. I need it. I need it. I need it. If I come from a place instead of, wow, this program is so expansive. If I join this, it's going to be so amazing for my business. Do you kind of feel the energetic difference? Then that is what's going to attract your manifestation faster. So I do teach my clients a couple ways to manifest, really focusing on, so I work a lot with money and abundance. And okay, so how much money do you want to attract in every single month? What feels good for you, right? It doesn't have to be, it can't be too little, but it can also be too big that they're like, I can never get it, So it has to be just right, but a little bit stretchy. And so you can focus on that. But when you do the wealth scripting that I shared earlier, it's more expansive. So it's not about your 10K months. It's not about your $25,000 months. Now it's about, wow, I'm already having a multi-million business. I travel first class everywhere. I do this. I have 10 writing contracts. So it's more expansive and it goes beyond, so that whatever comes underneath it is amazing too, right? Like if you get one publishing contract, it's like, yes. Yeah. So I teach both ways.
So I feel like most people are familiar with level 1, which you would describe as visioning. Is that right?
Yes. Your mental realm, for sure. Visioning. A lot of people do the mindset. So reprogramming the mind, reprogramming your beliefs. So I don't really, when I teach, I don't need to get to the core. I don't need to dig to the core of the problem, what has happened in the past. We might do some work on it, but that's not the main thing. Because if I spend 2 months teaching you how to find the core of your problem, that's what you're going to learn. the finding the cores of all your problems is going to be more problems coming up, right? So instead, when we focus on recoding our energy, reprogramming our vision, expansion, and feeling the energies and pulling that in and being that person, then all of that actually gets cleaned up and it takes care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like something that is really magical about the magician is that there is an imagination embedded into this card and an innate sense of resourcefulness. Like you kind of have to use what you've got to create this larger vision for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I also see it as kind of like divine messaging, because you're co-creating with the universe, like whatever you're receiving in your dreams or imagining or creating, you are essentially the vessel to create whatever is coming through you. And I like that you mentioned detachment, because sometimes we can get so attached to the outcome of whatever it is we want to create, that it almost blocks us from creating that thing, and blocks the flow of alchemy. And so I was wondering, what is alchemy to you? What does alchemy look like, and how has it appeared in your life?
So I think the most powerful lesson in alchemy is really the alchemy of my emotions. So before, when I would feel sad or mad or frustrated, I would stuff it down because I was taught you have to be high vibe, right? Like you don't want to be mad when you're manifesting. So I would just be like, okay. But what I realize is not shoving it down. It's not, because if you shove it down, it's going to all of a sudden come up like a pressure cooker one day, right? It's still there within you, and you're just growing it each time you feel mad, each time you feel sad. So instead of doing that, you bring it up. You are aware of the feelings. You are aware if you're really mad or upset. And maybe I'll let myself talk about it to, my friends for a day or an hour. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Oh, I'm so mad. And then I alchemize it. I release it, however it is I want to release. I think I don't know what I was mad about, but I think I was also PMSing. I just like threw something in my trash can. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But it released, right? I didn't stuff it down. I didn't make a story out of it. I'm mad because of this, or my life sucks, or, this person did this to me, because we always take responsibility for everything that we create. So it's not that person. It's not that thing. It's not that event. It's you. So I owned it, and I was like, okay, I am mad. And I'm going to be mad for a little bit. And then what happened was I always try to get to neutral, because when you're in that lower state, it's hard to be like, I'm so happy. So if you get to neutral, that's great. And that can alchemize your emotions to the joy later on. But if you can just get to neutral and be okay with what has happened, then that's very powerful.
Yeah. And I feel like these emotions that might feel a little bit more negative are actually ways that we can decipher how we're feeling to magnetize whatever it is we want to pull in. If you're feeling angry, then maybe you need to get all that anger out. Or if you're feeling angry, then maybe that's the thing that's actually propelling you to make a change. So none of these emotions are good or bad. I think we just typically label them as like conditioning, but it's actually not helpful to see it that way, because I think the human body is a vessel. And as you said, like we're souls living a human experience. And so it's natural to feel the array of the emotions, but to recognize when you're in a state that's not necessarily beneficial to you. So if you're constantly reliving the past, and like you mentioned, like if you're constantly focused on the past, you're probably going to create more experiences that reflect the past versus creating the change that will create new experiences for yourself. And so something I love about the Magician, it's actually one of my tarot birth cards. So I really resonate with this card. And I think it's funny that the Magician is on both of your covers of your deck.
Yeah.
I actually like snuck myself in the Magician card in my deck because at the time I had pink hair and it just reminded
Yeah.
me of this little bun I used to have or I used to wear at the time. Are there any like secret things that you've snuck into your deck that resemble you in any way?
Yeah, so the Witchling Academy Tarot, I think she's me. And the little parakeet, Georgie, that was my bird. That was my bird for 8 years. And he was really with me on a lot of my spiritual journey, I believe. And so I wanted to honor him in there. So he's a little blue parakeet. And a lot of my friends and family is in the deck. Although some of them doesn't even look like them. But it was fun to do that. And then I actually have that Nine of Cups unicorn onesie. I'm glad Llewellyn let me do that. That was a lot of fun. Tarot of the Owls, I didn't really have any Easter eggs with that. I think I was thinking of it, but that project came so fast. And Elizabeth was an amazing artist. And I think I just kind of just went with her, with the energy of that. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself, like the part of you that didn't know the manifestation techniques that you do now?
Mm. Yeah, I think so I know when I was younger, I was very impatient, right? I needed everything to happen now. And I needed it now. And I do believe that that was blocking the flow of things to come into me. So I would just tell myself that it's coming, and you have to live and be from the space of already having it, and it will come faster. And just like relax, like enjoy the moment. The present moment is beautiful. If we can enjoy now, but also have the vision of what we desire, then that is also a really powerful formula for manifestation.
Right. And sometimes we need to become a different person to handle these new manifestations. So I had remembered when Mystic Mondays was a Kickstarter, and I remember making a vision board where I was like, it's going to be in Urban Outfitters because that was like my favorite store growing up. And it did happen to be stocked at Urban Outfitters eventually, but that same year, when it was still self published, I also had a solo show there. And I felt like that was a manifestation come true. And at the same time, everything was moving so fast that year that I almost was like overwhelmed by how fast the manifestations were happening. And so I'm wondering, is there a way to handle that when the manifestations are too fast and to
Mm.
shift to be able to sustain that over time?
So I think you then have to be aware of that. I think you were kind of aware, and then choose and then send out the message to be like, thank you so much for my manifestations. Can I just finish realizing everything that's coming first, and then more things to come? So I think it's first to be aware, and then choosing now what you desire, because maybe you wanted all of it to come at once, right? Like before you had it, we want it all, we want it now. And so when it does come, then we get to realign, we refine our manifestation, and now we can decide what we desire next. Or something fun I tell all of my clients, especially the spiritual entrepreneurs, right? You just program yourself to think, feel, be. Life is easy, business is easy, it's fun. So I'm all about easy, flow, and fun.
I
That's
love
the
that.
three things that I really say to myself every single day, and how lucky I am. I am so lucky. I win everything. So whatever it is that you have to say, it's not just saying the affirmations though. You have to really feel it and like live it. Yeah.
What are some embodiment practices to really feel those emotions? Because I know people say it where they're like, you have to feel it. But what does
Yeah.
that actually mean? Like, do you do a meditation to feel these emotions after you're scripting or after you're vision boarding or something like that?
Yeah. You should actually feel it while you're doing it. So for some people can't vision, so they have to practice. So everybody can visualize. I think there's like 1%. I've worked with one client where it was actually a physical thing where she couldn't see things in her brain, but most people can. So if you practice that, like imagining, so if I just say close your eyes and imagine a pink elephant. So that's the same as imagining or getting messages from your intuition. That's the same thing. I think a lot of people think it's like real, right? Like the deck of cards when we imagine. No, it's just you thinking. Or when you're receiving a message, it's just you talking to yourself. So it's really you, and that can get confusing sometimes. But if you just imagine it and you're there, meditations could what I call visualizations, where it's like a guided visualization that takes you there. And usually I amplify the feeling. I say the feeling or have you pick the feeling before we go in, and then we amplify it. And so you can just like really feel it. One thing I really like to do is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has a walking meditation. So Dr. Joe, sometimes though, he's like, feel. I don't know. It motivates me. For some people, it's a lot, but I really like feel, I would just say have a vision of what the end looks like. So say, for example, I'm going on a vacation. It doesn't feel like the end to me if I bought my ticket. It doesn't feel like if I'm on the plane. It feels like I'm there and it's a done deal when I check in. So it's different for everyone. So have that done deal vision and like, what are you doing? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you eating? And then from there, you can do the walking meditation and you're literally embodying that. And he's having you like walk your energy. It's really cool. Yeah.
Can you describe what the walking meditation entails and how we can use this practice ourselves?
Yeah, you can actually just sit and close your eyes and really feel into that done deal vision. So whatever it is for you. And I like to feel it in my heart, right? Because that's where the magnetism is. So what you usually have one or two that higher level vibrational feeling. So it's joy, it's feeling really expansive, it's happiness, it's abundance, it's freedom. Freedom's a big one for a lot of people. So like, how do you feel when you're free, right? You're probably chest up and like shoulders down and like open. So how do you feel? And if you don't know, then gratitude is always a great one. Like, what are you so grateful for? Maybe it's your coffee, right? If you can't find anything. So have that feeling while you're visualizing it in your brain, and then just open your eyes and really still be in that feeling and start walking as if. So I actually like to go to the grocery store, and sometimes I go in my pajamas, but I'm walking around and I'm like, yeah, nobody knows, but I'm a millionaire.
I love it.
And I'll just like walk like how I would feel, like how I would walk if I was a multimillionaire, you know?
I find that gratitude is such a great tool to shift out of victim mindset, especially if you're like, oh, this thing is going wrong or this thing is not happening the way I want it to. And it's almost like when we shift ourselves into gratitude, we're more open to seeing things in a different way, a different perspective.
Gratitude is a very powerful, I think it's a very powerful energy that we get to tap into that fuels. It's like the fuel. It's like, your spaceship is your manifestation tool or yourself, and gratitude is the fuel. So I do want to share, I'm going to out my friend. I'm not going to say her name though, but she, so my like main friends in real life, they don't really ask me for coaching or anything, and they don't even have Instagram. And so one friend though, she was like, I'm looking for a new job or something. And she just had babies. And so she's like, but my husband, he's this and he's that. I was like, no, it's not your husband. It's you. Let's take it back to ourselves. He can't make you feel or be or do anything that you don't, say yes to. So she's like, okay. And then a little bit later, she's like, again, well, I'm like, no, it's us. So you get to decide how you feel. You get to decide how you want to live your life.
I love that you bring that up because it's actually an agreement, right? When we have these circumstances that are not fully aligned. And the word that you used before in the conversation was realignment. So even though we might have this desired outcome, and I've had these experiences where I'm like, okay, I'm going to manifest this thing. And it wasn't like exactly it. It was like the things, but then some of the things were off a little bit. And then I'd be like, okay, this is not it. So based on this, I'm going to change my desired outcome because this is not completely what I want. And I think that gives us permission to constantly realign ourselves to whatever we want to manifest, and that we have permission to change our minds even. Like the one thing you said yes to yesterday might not be the same thing you say yes to today. Like your friend in the situation with her husband, she is in agreement with some of those behaviors that her husband is exhibiting. So in some ways, we're agreeing to the things that we may not be totally in alignment with. So I'm wondering, what are some check marks for us to get back into alignment with ourselves when we find ourselves agreeing to things that aren't in complete alignment with our true purpose and soul and everything?
Yeah, I think the most important, but also probably a hard thing for people who are new to these practices is being aware. Because if you're not aware, you're not even aware, or if you don't know, right? She didn't know, or else she wouldn't have agreed to it. So she didn't know that she didn't have to agree to it. Now she knows. I know she's going to change because she listens. But some people don't know that they're doing this. They don't know that they have the opportunity to create their own world and not having other people's affect them. So I think it's the awareness and knowing that you are the magician, that you are powerful. I think that's very important. And you can that's a practice, right? Now that you've heard us talking about it, the next time something happens, you need to like take a little step back and be like, okay, so is that person really making me mad, or am I choosing to be mad? Am I reacting to something that they did, or right? Or am I choosing to react in a certain way? And so the way that you react, the way that you think of what the other person or thing does to you, that's going to create that energy within you, remember? And then that's going to manifest. So you can always change it. If you catch it, then you could be like, okay, so they did do this. I don't like that. So change it. So what I like to do again with the alchemizing is flip the script, right? So if you are, I am sad. Well, what is opposite of that? And do you really want to claim that you're sad? Do you want to be sad? If you want to be sad, and some people do need to release, then stay in that energy for a while. It's okay. But when you're ready, but don't stay in it all the time, right? And when you're ready, you could be like, okay, so how do I want to feel instead? And then flip the script, and then say it. If you know EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping, I like tapping a lot. So you can like tap on the meridian points. You can find that online if that helps you. So I do rituals and spells. So maybe I will light a black candle for clearing and releasing. I'll write down what I'm releasing and burn it safely, please. Burn it. Or we have a bonfire. Like my boyfriend dug a hole. And so sometimes I'll release it in there. So I like to do that. If you don't have fire, you can rip it up and just throw it away. So there's a lot of physical things. So the physical things that we are doing is just letting our mind know that, hey, we're releasing this from reality. You could always just do it in the mind, but if it helps a lot, especially if you're a beginner, if you connect to like a physical ritual. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, so obviously so many gems being dropped from Pamela on manifestation, but not only that, combining the ethereal with the tangible and how to access your personal power by using actual techniques you can apply to your everyday life. If you want to work with Pamela on the quantum level, I wanted to let you know she is launching the Activated Business Academy. And if you sign up through my link in the show notes, you'll receive a $2,000 scholarship for her program. Pamela's Activated Business Academy helps you align your messaging, recode your subconscious, build a soul-led business, and amplify your magnetism for wealth. So if you're interested in getting that $2,000 off her program, go to my link in the show notes. Now, back to the show for even more wisdom to be dropped. I love that you mentioned scripting so much because yeah, it's great because in some ways, like, the people that may not be so aware of their behaviors are also running a script too. Like, they're just playing a role that they think is in their best interest and alignment with themselves at the time. And so everyone's on their own path to becoming more aware of how they're reacting to certain situations. And the only thing that you can really do is to claim your own power in how you react and become the magician in your own life, you know, where you get to create the ideal scenario for you.
I think what you said was very important, creating the ideal situation for you. And first is they have to know what the ideal situation is. So a lot of people don't manifest because they don't know what they want. So they're just like abundance or even $1,000,000. But what does that look like in your life? Do you know how that looks like? Do you know how that feels like? Do you know what you're going to do? Do you know where it's taking you? Do you know where the money is going to go to? Yeah, you can save it or you can spend it or whatever, however you want to live. But a lot of people don't know what it is. And I think that's very important for them to align to that because we're always aligned to something. The actions that we're taking is either aligned to who you are now, which is if you want to change your life, you're not going to change if you keep taking actions aligned to that. But if we take aligned actions to who we desire to be, to the life, the ideal life, then that's what we're going to move towards.
Yes. And words are spells. So whatever you say, you know, like, so I feel like as a manifestation and quantum wealth coach, saying certain words are really important. What would you suggest for people to be mindful of as they're talking to themselves?
So I can't, I don't, right? Those words, if I can't do it, I don't have it. Or when you, so again, I work with a lot of money and abundance. So when you are going to buy something, and if you don't have the physical money in the bank, that's fine. But don't say, I can't afford it, because then you're claiming you can't afford it or I'm poor. So instead, say, I choose not to buy that right now. That's perfect. You don't have to buy it, right? It doesn't have to. And your bank account right now has nothing to do with your future bank account because I moved out when I was very young and I had negative 300 in my bank. I was always scared to swipe my debit card at the grocery store because I didn't know if it would bounce. I didn't know if I had money in there and I was very bad with money. And I learned myself how to be better with money physically and energetically and manifest money. So you can learn all these things if you just decide to change now. Like, you can change now. It's okay about the past. We can change in the present.
That's amazing and super powerful. So how did you change your relationship with money, and what is your relationship with money like now?
So I moved out when I was 16, and so I was going to high school, but I was working two jobs, and it was like $5 an hour, so it wasn't a lot. And so I feel like I didn't really have a lot of money then. I was still very happy though. I think I'm just naturally a pretty optimistic person, I think because of my star charts. And so I was ready to figure out how to make more money. Actions that I took was getting jobs that paid more. And the magic that I did was I went and learned from my mentor. It was the psychic. I used to go to a lot of psychics because I was trying to figure out how to get more money. What is my life, the meaning of my life, right? And one psychic actually taught me and my friends how to do money magic, our first spell, and how to meditate and how to astral travel and all of that. So that was really fun. And for a time, I did make money in Hawaii, and I think I just lost the magic because I was like, oh, I got what I want, right? So I didn't really do anything to develop that. When I was 20, I moved to Vegas, and I just packed up, me and my roommate packed up our stuff and moved to Vegas. So now we needed money. And so I think that led me to, oh, now I need to study manifestation again because I knew I've done it before. And so I was like very curious to go to a holistic fair. And at that time, I didn't know any energetic stuff. And so I saw all these ladies buy this crystal bracelet, a booth, and they were like, the energies of this bracelet is amazing. And I went and I grabbed one and I was like, there's nothing. And so I was like, what? And so I found my first Reiki coach. She was also my psychic development coach. And from there, I got like a million certifications. But I learned energy, I learned magic, and, from the manifestation. And I just really applied what I learned to my life and like seeing the results, but also figuring out what works for me because everybody's energy is different. So some manifestation techniques might work very well for others and not you. And so you kind of have to play and you have to try and you have to discover what is like your own unique blueprint. But it always works. Something will always work for you. And from there, I just like got better jobs and I was hustling. So I was working 4 jobs, making good money, right, in Vegas. And I knew there was something bigger. So being a spiritual entrepreneur was a big shift for me. And I had to do a lot of money work in there, like releasing beliefs and upgrading and all of that. I'm still doing it, still on my journey. And so I learned a lot through the doing, through the journey. Yeah.
Right. And there's so much experimentation too that happens with that. Like, it's never like you're at the destination fully, because when you get to the destination, there's always something else. There's always a new destination. There's always a new journey. And I love that you mentioned surrender earlier in the conversation. And I just feel like when there is a destination and when we really feel into it and tap into our desires, there's also this letting go of how it's all going to happen. And so I was just wondering, what are some ways you surrender and some techniques there that you could offer to us?
I literally say detach, detach, detach. So when I am launching and I still get it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this much clients in my program. And sometimes I get kind of caught up in that. I have to remember, no, detach, 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 right? Detach. Whoever will come in is the best for the program. We're going to have an amazing time. They're going to get incredible results. Now I'm refocusing my energy on like service, right? And not, I want clients for self, which if you desire things for yourself, it's fine too. A lot of times though, being of service is very powerful. So then I literally tell myself, detach, detach, I'm detached, I detach. And so I really release and then just like be open to however the manifestation, however the money is going to come in. So the money doesn't have to come in from this one job. This money doesn't have to come in from this one client. So I've had clients who took the business program with me, but it's also like a wealth activation program. They've taken the business course and they made their money not through creating their business at first, but through something crazy, something else. And they were like, what? Like, I didn't even know that was going to happen. And so it doesn't, don't try to put it in a box on how it's going to happen. Have your desires and feel into it, but be very open on how you will receive it and know that you will receive it. Surrendering is great, like letting it go, but surrendering is not you just doing a spell or doing a manifestation technique, meditating for 10 minutes a day, and then be like, yeah, the universe is going to take care of it. There's still that aligned action that you have to go out and take, right? So there's still stuff that you have to go out and do. You move first and the universe will follow. And sometimes the actions the opportunities come as something that is going to push you, that is scary. So for me, a lot on my journey with money, with my business, was investing in my coaches, right? Like investing thousands of dollars in them. And it was very scary because I didn't have the money in the beginning to start investing, right? Like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 was a lot, but I had to take the first step. the universe, I wanted to build my business. The universe is like, here's this coach. She can help you build your business. Invest in her. And I had to say yes, but coming from a space of not I need, coming from a space of I'm going to have so much fun. It's so expensive. And then when I say yes, I am going to hit my goal, like having that certainty. So you're going to get these opportunities. Not all of them is going to be like, here's Grace's podcast, right? Easy, but it's going to come in many different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just being open to the opportunities and open yourself to magnetize the opportunities, I feel like is very magician.
Yeah.
So what are you working on these days? What can we look forward to in the future from you?
Oh, I would like to share something about publishing though, Grace. Is that okay?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
So I actually like scripted my publishing career because I didn't go to college and I don't remember writing an essay in high school because Hawaii education. We just played. I felt like we just played. So I wasn't a writer. And how I learned to write was actually from writing business copies, like marketing, like my sales page and my Instagram content. And so I wasn't a writer. And I had to script myself into believing that I'm a good writer. It's crazy, but it works, I promise. Right now, I actually have 10 publishing contracts. So I know.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
you don't see it because it takes a while. So Tarot of the Owls, I signed in 2018, 2019. It was a while ago. With Llewellyn, I have an Asian magic book coming out with my friend Sam. And the next one, I have a money magic book with them too. 2025 is Steampunk Fairy Tarot. So the artwork is almost done with that. I finished writing that. That's going to be really nice. Ashley Cassidy is the artist. With Hay House, we have Galactic Stars Tarot. So we actually won that. So it was a miracle. I didn't ever think that we would get a Hay House contract. And so it's very galactic. It's cosmic magic. It's with star seeds. It's with like Arcturians, the Lyrans, all the beings. And so that's not really Llewellyn's energy or what they publish. So I did submit it to them first and they didn't understand what it was because they don't deal with that. And so my actually co-author, Alex, she was like, let's take it to Hay House. But I'm like, we need an agent. There's a lot of stuff to get into Hay House. And she's like, no, I'm in the writing program that they have where you can submit for contest. And so we like submitted. I mean, we did write a really good proposal. We submitted and we won. And we were the first like tarot to ever win, I think. It was crazy. And so we have that coming out hopefully 2024. And we also created a membership surrounding that. So that Galactic Star Society, we just closed our launch. So it's launching next year again.
That's awesome. That's so much that you're doing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I always reprogram myself I like fast and easy and fun.
Fast, easy, fun. Got it.
Yeah.
So what kind of starseed are you?
So I think my soul starseed origin is Arcturian. And I think that's where I came from. But actually, the other day that we were journeying, it was really funny because so in one of my journeys, I discovered that I've only been on Earth for 4 lifetimes, maybe 4 or 5, like very less. And what I'm here actually to do is to like bring the fun to, so a lot of my friends, I feel like they're entrepreneur friends, they're leaders in their industry, they're very powerful, and I feel like they're more serious. So I feel like it was like part of me. I call myself like the galactic bee. I just come in, pollinate fun. I share the funness and the lighter energy with them. And because they're always like, wow, with you, it's so fun. And they really tap into their like playful side. Because I'm like, you're not serious. And they're like, no, I really am. So that was like part of my mission. So that was like really fun. Like a galactic bee going from planet to planet.
I love the idea of pollinating fun.
Yeah.
We need more fun.
Yeah, it's actually very high frequency, powerful. It's like curiosity. You discover, you explore, and you just have fun, and you go with like the flow, the quantum flow, and allow things to happen, right?
Yeah. And there's infinite possibilities in the
There
quantum
is.
field. So literally anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
There's like 10 of you creating decks right now. So
It probably feels that way. Yeah.
so beyond this podcast, you're already doing like a million things.
Yeah, it's really fun for me though. I create with like when I'm feeling the energy to create. So I never really try to force myself, but I always do it pretty fast. Like the owl. So I think the owl really trained me. Like I got the idea, I put it out. Yeah. And so that allowed it to go instead of like sitting, maybe later, Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the owls because owls are such a huge symbol for me.
Oh,
Like
yay.
whenever I see an owl, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a message from my guides. That means
Oh,
something. So we like to end the podcast episode with a segment that we like to call the Mystic Monday segment. So to kick off, what is your big three, your sun, moon, and rising? And do these zodiac signs resonate with you?
So my Western astrology, my sun is Virgo, my moon is Leo, and my rising is Capricorn. Vedic astrology, which is kind of what I'm resonating with right now and moving into, because it really shows you where our planet or where we are related to the stars instead of the Western, which is just like a formula that they calculate. So with the Vedic, you're actually in that right now physically. So I'm actually I'm triple Leo. So my Mercury is Leo too. So I am Sun Leo, Sun Leo, Moon Leo, Rising Sagittarius. So I'm like a Leo stellium. And it was funny because whenever I used to go to psychics, remember I went a lot, they would
I
tell
did
me,
too.
you did too? Okay. They would tell me that I'm a Leo and be like, no, I'm a Virgo. And so I feel like this, and then whenever my friends send me, astrology stuff, they're like, you're so not Virgo. And I'll be like, no, I'm a Virgo. But now it makes sense looking at everything. It's like, oh, wow, okay, this Leo energy, because I do like to be seen. I do want to be known. Like, that's part of my thing too. So that makes sense that it's like this really big Leo energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like these tools, whether it's astrology or tarot or whatnot, it's
Yeah.
really to get to know oneself better, right? So, like, whatever you're resonating with is what is in most alignment with you right now. So, for example, I think my mom had actually given me the wrong birth time by like an hour. So, my rising sign was off in
Oh.
Western astrology. So I'm a Gemini rising, but the time she gave me was a Taurus rising, which is actually my Vedic rising. But anyway, I read it
Ooh.
and I was like, that doesn't really sound like me. And then when I got the right time, I was like, that sounds more like me. So it really does matter, whether the specific time and like the systems that you choose to use and whatnot.
So I do like to share with people though, like don't let that put you in a box though. So let's just say your iPhone, you get the app. When you get your iPhone, you get the main apps, right? Like the messaging, your Safari, but you can add apps to it. So it's never like if you are this astrology or if this tarot says this, that's all you can be. Like you can change and you can add stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's all very fluid. And I
Yeah.
totally agree that whatever comes through is of the time. And like, I feel like, especially with tarot readings, like the energy that you come into a reading is usually what you get out of it can actually feel completely different the next day, depending on whether like you've done your meditation or your rituals or whatnot. Okay. Would you like to do a tarot reading?
Yeah. Am I
Do you
doing
have
it or are you
any?
doing it for me?
I'm doing it for you.
Oh, yes, okay.
Do you have any questions or anything you'd like to
Um,
focus on?
yeah, what action should I take to have a really good Money Magic Manifest launch?
That wanted to fly out.
Woo! Which deck are you using?
I'm using the Mystic Mondays
Mystic
deck.
Mondays? Ooh, I'm excited.
So I have the Four of Wands, the Princess of Cups, which flew out, and Justice. And with these three cards, I feel like actually this is letting you know that just tying up anything that may be blocking you, like legally, not blocking necessarily, but like just making sure that all of that stuff is taken care of, contracts, legal documents, etc. Princess of Cups, I feel like, is more like what we talked about or what you've talked about a lot during this conversation, is just really listening to the synchronicities of what's popping up, whether it's in your dreams or you see the same symbols over and over again. And then Four of Wands, I feel like, really speaks to your sense of security and feeling secure no matter what the outcome is. But also, I think that sense of security brings in that feeling of wealth for you. So tapping more into feeling safe inside your body, I think could really help. So even though I know your question was very action oriented, but it almost feels like this spread is like, make sure everything's okay, but do less.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. I actually had to rebuild my entire business last year. I split from my business partner, so everything I started from zero again. So I'm manifesting my butt off.
Yeah. How's that been going?
I was so in the Vedic, I actually had a Vedic reading done and I felt it. I was like in a hole and it was a little bit, like sticky. It wasn't as bad as if it would have happened to me 2 years ago, because I think I did a lot of, mindset, energy, manifestation work that it allowed me to move through this with more grace. And so it wasn't bad, but it was, if you look at it, it was like bad. It was like, oh, it was, yeah, that was not that bad. And now I got out of my hole October. And so I think everything is like moving and building along and I'm getting more clarity. So it's fun.
Yeah. And I feel like those moments that feel like the tower moments really,
Tower.
yeah, like allowed you to rebuild that structure. And so you're like coming through in a way, because after the tower is the star. So now you're allowed to shine as, this like Leo presence and like really be like full front and center in your business, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think that allowed me to step more into who I am and express what I wanted to create also. Because after that, it was when all the contracts came into.
That's incredible.
It was fun.
Cheers to you and all the manifestations that are coming through.
I'm really excited. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So one more question. Your favorite rituals?
So the wealth scripting I actually do every single day. And right now I am really working with the body and the voice. So your voice, you said, is very powerful. It is, your throat chakra is like sending out the spell into the universe. So I do practice a lot of mantras or chanting. And I recently activated my light language. So light language is a language of light, which also have codes and activations in it. So I do it for myself. I actually just go sometimes and activate myself. But I do a lot of chants. So one of my favorite is a Lakshmi chant. So if you want to Google like Lakshmi chant, because she's abundance, do that too. So when you chant, you're speaking and you're calling in and you're being in the vibration of those magic words. And so that creates like more of that abundance or whatever you're chanting in your reality. So I think that's very powerful for me. Those two are the main things that I do almost every day.
Amazing. And where can people find you?
Pamela Unicorn at Pamela Unicorn on Instagram.
Thank you so much, Pamela, for having this soulful conversation with me. And we will make sure to have all of your links in the show notes. Keep an eye out for Pamela's new creations, and thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's podcast episode with Pamela Chen. I am so grateful for Pamela's magic, light, and bringing the ethereal into practical ways we can apply magic into our lives. Take this episode as an invitation to connect with the energy of the magician and see if you can connect to your source of personal power, the part of you that has unlimited potential. What are you manifesting, and how are you going to bring what you desire from your imagination to reality? And just a reminder, to enter the giveaway to win a Tarot of the Owls deck, you must leave a podcast review, screenshot your review, and email it to graced@mysticmondays.com. That's GRACED at mysticmondays.com. If you want additional entries, you can follow us on social media and get the complete rules on Instagram over at Mystic Mondays and at grace.duong. Also, each follow, like, and comment on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok will be another entry for you to win the Tarot of the Owls deck. Winners will be announced next Wednesday on May 10th. So keep your eyes peeled on your email or socials should you be the lucky winner. If you liked this episode, please share the Graced podcast with your friends, like and follow along if you're watching the videos, and subscribe to the podcast. Since this is a completely new podcast, all of the support goes a long way. Sending you so much grace today and every day. Until next time.